Imagine a world without choices. Imagine you can't make your own decision. That wouldn't be a world for me. That wouldn't be a world for you. UIC.
Tell them we're gonna be stronger. Together, together we can make it right. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. Gonna be stronger together. Time we all just unify. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. It is a natural right for every human being to be free. Free, so free. So the government is there to protect you and me. You and me. You
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another edition of UIC Liberty TV. Tonight we're on the banner of MEK WI FIX Jamaica, Yo Shocks, and This Community Rocks. As usual, it's my pleasure to be here with you, and we're going to have some guests with us tonight, a number of persons on, some wearing blue shirts and some none, but we're going to be having a bit of a talk tonight about two important but separate topics. One has to do with the BPO industry, and I call it BPO shocks because I believe when some of our fellow Jamaicans took a job in that area, they were shocked at some of the things they experienced, and they're going to share with us their experiences tonight. We're also going to talk about a community, Harborview, where they have actually had a very rocky, disturbing past, but somehow have managed to evolve into a more peaceful situation. And we want to get an understanding of how that occurred and at least see through the eyes of one young vlogger who has shared his experience and his thoughts on the matter. In the whole process, we're going to also meet the VP for Surrey, the County of Surrey for the UIC, Miss Jasmine Powell. So you're going to get a chance to meet her tonight as we just have a chit chat about the communities, to her community and the Harborview community. And these are, communities with a bit of a rough past. And we want to kind of understand how those communities are shaped, how they have developed, or how they remain in some instances undeveloped or underdeveloped, and think about how the UIC will have an impact on those communities. First, we want to talk about the BPO industry. Welcome to all of you. Kick Rocks, Alan Scott, Lion Rule the Jungle, Gloria Morris, JMA. Beautiful to see you all on, and I'm looking forward to your engagement as usual tonight. Let's begin the discussion though by watching a brief video, 5 minutes, on BPO industry through the eyes of one of the BPO companies themselves. It's a bit of a dated video. It's coming from about 2011 or so, but it's interesting and important to kind of see the thought process behind the BPO industry then. So let's take a look at this particular video, and then we're going to kind of share some thoughts and bring some young persons to tell us a little bit about their experience at the BPO. And after which, I'm going to put some closing thoughts on the matter, what we can learn from this as a country, individuals and as a country, and how we can springboard from there into other areas of successes as a country. So let's begin by taking a look at this.
Hi, this is Kirk Law for Shore Americas here on the ground at the Montego Bay Free Zone in Montego, Jamaica. We wanted to get a kind of a quick snapshot into the industry here in Montego Bay. So we've come to talk to some executives from Global Gateway Solutions. Joining us is actually Jackie Sutherland, who has a background with Verizon in the United States, and also Mark Jones, both from Global Gateway Solutions. Mark, your story is actually very interesting. You started with something around 20 people in January, and now you're up over how many now is it?
Well, we're going to be approaching 500 by December.
So what's the managing that scale like for you?
It's been actually easier than we would have thought. Fortunately, the call center industry is, although young, is still mature enough here in Montego Bay to have produced a good generation of local management talent, which is key. There are about 10,000 people in the industry here, so although you know, going from 20 to 500 is impressive in absolute numbers, it's certainly not getting anywhere near the absorption capacity of the industry. And we've been very successful with the clients, which are the client service, which is really key to the whole thing. So far, so good.
Very good, very good. One of the things we want to talk to you today about, Jackie, is there's a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of discussion now about Jamaica becoming kind of an IT services hub. And with your background with Verizon and the IT, IT support area, IT department, what is your confidence in Jamaica becoming an IT center?
Well, while we're still in the infancy stages of exploring ITO opportunities in Jamaica, the companies that have been doing ITO services have recognized a tremendous success in Jamaica, and I obviously have a passion for that with my background, and I have spoken to quite a few of the universities that Jamaica has, and there's just a wealth of talent that is graduating from the universities and offers a great deal of opportunity for Jamaica to expand in that capacity. A lot of the students are looking for opportunities. There are certain number of opportunities available locally to them, but they're looking to expand their horizons and expand their capabilities, and a lot of them will end up migrating to look for those types of opportunities, and we feel that we can offer that here in Jamaica at Global Gateway. So very excited about the potential that this field has to offer us, and looking forward to being one of the pioneers in that space. So.
When we look at Jamaica as an offshore hub, no matter if it's call centers or IT services, what are some of the key attractions you both think that this country offers?
Well, I think proximity, for one, is definitely an attraction. We have clients both in the U.S., Canada, and in the U.K., and we find that the proximity is something that has attracted people, but once they come to the island and they see the performance that our agents deliver, our management team provides, the professionalism, they're drawn to Jamaica, and they're ready to pull up stumps and bring all their work here. So we've had a tremendous success in just ramping up very small opportunities with clients to taking over a significant portion of their offshore needs. So I think it's definitely the professionalism that's been shown here, and the quality of the service that we provide.
Fantastic.
And I have to talk about money, because that's always where things start and end.
So one of the things I thought she would have said right off the bat is the
Jamaica. I first started being involved in Jamaica in a business sense in 1999, and at that time the currency had a value that I would be paying somebody, for example, 30.
Yeah, I didn't want him to get into that yet. I wanted to just point out to you that one of the things
$1,000 US. That same person 10 years later is
one of the things that she missed saying, which is very, very important, and Keith Romans, you have noted it, that Jamaica is the largest English-speaking country in the Caribbean. And so I would expect her to point out that one of our advantages would be that we speak English here in Jamaica. And so that would lend itself quite well to the North American and English market. In any event, what the gentleman is about to say is even more interesting than that. Listen carefully to what he's saying. He says he's going to talk now about the money. And the money factor has to do with the fact that the Jamaican dollar is always devaluing. And to him, that is a strategic advantage for his company, but of course, not so much for us. Listen carefully to what he said.
Now being paid $8,000. The currency had a value here, US. That same person 10 years later is now being paid $8,000, the equivalent. So you have U.S. That same person 10 years later is now being paid $8,000, the equivalent. And you know, Jamaica, I first started being involved in Jamaica in a business sense in 1999. And at that time, the currency had a value that I would be paying somebody, for example, $30,000 a year, U.S. That same person 10 years later is now being paid $8,000. So you have a, you know, you have a steadily devaluing currency.
Did you hear that? So he started out paying somebody 30,000 US dollars. 10 years later, that person is only making 8,000 US dollars equivalency because of the depreciation of the value of our money. That is really, really very important, very critical for us to understand.
What gives us, which has put Jamaica into the, you know, into the zone where it's a legitimate, you know, it's a legitimate offshore provider, and you know, sad to say, but true, you have a currency that's not going to be revaluing against the U.S. Or Canadian dollar, so you can, you know, you can look to.
So he has predicted that our currency will never revalue against the US or Canadian dollar, meaning our currency will never catch up. He's predicting the future of Jamaica, which he was right about, by the way. He was very right in saying, based on our economy and based on how our country is being managed, our currency will never revalue to becoming anything close to parity with those other countries. And that's a very, very striking comment.
To a very stable and in fact even increasing value proposition just on the basis of the currency, and that's a huge benefit over India, Philippines, and some of the other countries.
What's your perspective on just general human capital, meeting the needs for human capital in Jamaica? You know, obviously call centers now, it's fairly established, but as this country begins to try to ramp up in the IT space, Jackie, how prepared is this country to meet some of those human capital requirements?
I think we have a tremendous resource pool that we will continue to tap into in Jamaica, so I don't think we've even tipped the scale yet as far as what our capabilities are. Mm-hmm. We have several universities that we're pulling talent from, and that resource pool continues to grow as far as the resources that we have available from a call center perspective, and the agents that we have. The agents that we have in our environment now come with a significant amount of experience, and we have a huge resource pool that we can tap into. From an IT perspective, based on conversations that we've had with the various universities and some of the other IT professionals, there is a tremendous need for the type of service that we're looking to provide, and so I do not believe that we will have any issues with as far as resources and bringing those into the platform.
I think there's another very unique factor here in Jamaica. You know, we're small enough so that companies, the institutions can all come together. We're in active, as our company, in active discussions with the University of West Indies and University of Technology to have a partnership where we would actually be, on their campus and linking, work-study kinds of programs for college credit. So that people can come through and then come out into our industry. So these are the kinds of discussions that are occurring, and it's not.
In other words, Jamaica has a great supply of university graduates who will need to take a BPO job because they will not be able to find a job in the area in which they studied. So basically, we'll have a large supply of university graduates that we can give BPO or call center jobs to. And he sees a great future in that for their company, which he was right again. Remember, this is a few years old. He was very right again in predicting that Jamaica would not be able to provide jobs for their college graduates in the disciplines that they studied, and they would therefore need to turn to BPOs as the solution for their employment. So he was right. He's right about everything. It's harsh, it's painful, but he's right. And Who did that? Who caused us to be in that position?
Just let us see what happens, in the newspaper or in the recruiting function. But we're actually collaborating with the government and the universities to build this thing and take it forward.
Well, we wish you both the best on your journey here at Global Gateway Solutions, and we'll check in with you in a few years.
Thanks, Kirk. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Kirk.
All right, so we have done the checking in for a few years. Let me bring in now our panel of esteemed persons who can talk about the issue. We have first and foremost the First Lady, Charlotte Mesado Patterson, who is here with us, going to be giving us some clips from a few BPO employees, former employees in some cases, who are sharing their thoughts with us. And then we also have with us our treasurer, MEK Williams, who has worked in the BPO industry herself, so she'll be sharing with us her thoughts on the matter. And we have Mr. Mario Keppel, a UIC member who has also worked in the industry as well, and he'll be sharing his thoughts with us also. Backstage, and I'm bringing her forth stage right now, is Ms. Jasmine Powell, the UIC Vice President for the County of Surrey, who will be particularly participating in the second half of our program. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome tonight to our discussion, first of all, on the BPO shocks in Jamaica.
We have an addition, Mr. Patterson.
Oh, we have, she's here?
Yes, she could not come on the program, so she's actually on the phone.
What's her name?
Tanisha Brown.
Tanisha Brown. Welcome, Miss Brown. How are you?
Hi, good night. I'm wonderful. How are you?
Excellent. Good to have you on. So I'm not sure if you heard the presentation a while ago, but what has been your experience in the BPO industry?
Alright, so basically the issue that I'm having is with call centers, right? Before when you were talking, I did not hear much because I was having some service difficulties, internet difficulties, so I wasn't hearing that clearly. But my issue is where the call center lies. I really think that we need people like you here, sir, to help our Jamaican young people. We really do. I'm hearing others talking about unemployment have been decreased and all of that. No, reason being, I think it's because of all these call centers. And if you don't work at a call center, then you wouldn't even know what's going on there. You hear people talk every day, but then if you're not in the situation, you cannot speak about it. However, I was working at a particular call center, right? And I feel as if I was enslaved. All the things that I didn't even think that I could go into depression state just by working. And my mental health, everything have just been acting up, and it's all because of this. Now, the Prime Minister that we have here in Jamaica, he says that he's going to let young people have work to do. No, my thing is, if this is the way to go, then, Mr. Sir, something is really wrong. And to you, Mr. Patterson, we as young people, we are really depending on you to help us out of this situation. So my thing is, the UIC is the way to go, right? I'm working, I'm not getting my proper pay. If I have sick time, vacation time, all of those things, we're not getting what we're supposed to get. It is just, not just me, a lot of persons have been going through this. And when you see as young people who also have children, right? You're working to get honest bread. You don't want to go out there and steal anything from anybody, right? So you decide that you have to work. No, the call center is the only place right now where people, so much young people, can get something to do. That is what is going on here in Jamaica. right? And I'm sure that if we pay overseas, they don't pay out here like that. Because my department that I work with, they pay $300 per hour. You have to do 8 hours a day. You can also do overtime. But at one point in time, I was told that agents even are not allowed to do overtime. So if you fall short on that hours, you can't even make up for your time, right? Now we hear managers come in saying, oh, I can buy a car, my kids are going to school, all those things. This is my house, I this and I that. Knowing that we are the persons who work so hard, right, for them to get money in their pocket. But yet when we are supposed to be paid, you're taking away half of what we're supposed to get from us. Our children are not getting the proper things that they should, right? And nothing has been done about this. We have no one to go to. It's just like everybody is going in circles with everyone. We don't have a proper field to go to say, all right, I need to voice my concern here. Nobody, if they even listen, there's no action, nothing. And I feel like we're just enslaved, working. We have nothing to show, sir, nothing. And it's really, I have persons there who have mental situation because of their job, call center workers, mental things going on. And it's really hard. We as people, we need something to do. And they vote for this prime minister, right? And I decided that, look, if I'm going to take a stand at some point in time, then I need to take the right stand. And this is where you come in now, sir, right? We're depending on persons like you. The movement that you're doing, you're going in the right. Whatever you talk, I listen to most of your shows. And I have other persons as well overseas and all of that who are saying that you are from Elam, but do you know Mr. Patty? I'm like, no, because I work out. I work in Montego Bay. So basically, I don't know who the person is. All right? So they're overseas and they hear so much about Mr. Patterson. Mr. Patterson is doing this, he's doing that. So let me tell you, go and follow. And when I do follow everything that you're saying, sir, to be honest with you, I really, the part that you're going in, you're really taking young people and others as well down the right path. And if there's something that you can do for us, if there's something that you can do for us as youngsters so that other persons hear our voices, hear our cries, we are being slaves in the call center. And it's not fair to us to be working 40 hours for the week and then yes, it is actually $10,000-$12,000. And when you're supposed to collect that money, $5,000-$4,000 is taken away from you. What can you do? You can't take care of your family. You can't do anything. You can hardly find food. And it is really unfair. So we're seeking your attention. We're hoping that this will worldwide.
Are you still working in the call center?
No, sir. I had to resign. I think it was about maybe 2 weeks now that I resigned. I could not take it anymore.
How long were you there?
I started working there from January.
Okay, so January of this year.
Ago I resigned. Yes.
And it was quite traumatic for you.
Let me tell you, more than what I would have ever expected.
Wow.
It was really wrong.
I want to hear from, we have some other folks right here on the call with you. Mario Keppel, Naika Williams. Let me hear from you, Miss Williams. How long were you in the BPO sector for?
I was there for 7 months. 7 months, yeah. So from November of 2020, November of 2019 to June of 2020.
Okay. And what was your experience? Do you share similar experience from?
Yeah, she mentioned not getting what we're supposed to get. It's more of not getting what we signed to. or what was told that we're supposed to get. I'm not sure if the call center that she is at has the same thing where they say, oh, you have a 3-month probation period, and after that you should be getting PPI or performance-based incentives. That was the case at the call center I was at. And after that 3 months, I was there for 7 months. For the 4 months after that, I was there, just there working, getting base pay. That's it, nothing. No, I mean, heard? You can hear me, Mark? Oh, everybody keeps dropping off. You can hear me, Miss Jasmine?
I can hear you.
Oh, I was wondering, everybody fell off just now, so I was wondering. But that wasn't there, and in the video, the lady, I'm not sure what her name is, but she would have made mention of level of interest in the VP system. For me, I don't think it's so much of the level of interest, but more so the opportunities for persons to choose from. Because the moment you leave school, that's the only thing that's available to a person, right? You're not, it's very rare a person leaves school and actually gets a job in what they actually studied for.
Listening to the young lady expressing the experience she had, or she had experience, it's really very unfortunate because to me it's so like modern day slavery. You know, so like modern day slavery.
Yeah, and she also mentioned the term mental health. Trust me, call center, it's a place where like it not only damages your mental health, but also your physical health, because it messes up your eating schedule, of your sleeping schedule. Everything goes off track depending on whatever shift they put you on. Everything goes off track.
So I'm wondering now, with I imagine the call center employ hundreds, right?
Could you repeat?
I'm saying the call centers across Jamaica employ for the most part young people. Is that so?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. This the way the government sit back, because I am sure they hear persons complain all the time and they have not intervened to protect the welfare and the sanity of our young people. It's sad, very sad. So in my opinion, this is why the UIC is very, very important, because the UIC will address the concerns of our nation, young people, and both and old. So
the worst part about it is that you get up and you hear the government say, oh, we're creating new job opportunities. And when you look, it's a new bio sector that they're building.
new
So
job
I'm thinking, no, because every time they say that it's a new sector that is being built. You understand me? So I'm saying, are they even well, I know they're aware of the situation, because so many persons cannot have the same complaint and nothing is being done about it. So I'm sure they're more than aware of it, but they keep building these prisons for persons. I don't know. It's horrible, man. It's horrible. It is
more than horrible. More than horrible.
Are you there,
Wow.
Shanique?
So based upon You mind me asking a question, Naika?
Go ahead.
As a young person, oh, Mrs. Patterson is back. As a young person in the industry, you have a, what would the situation with the young?
You're break. Wait, could you repeat your question, please?
I was asking from your experience in there for that short period of time, and you see what has been happening or what has happened, still happening. In your view, how you think improvement can be made in that industry?
How I think improvement can be made in that industry?
Yes.
Well, if on the government side, if something can be done to maybe increase the value of work currency, then that would be a help for a lot of persons, right? Because you have persons working on the call center, and I'm thinking the same that I'm getting that other persons are raising families on. You understand? It's so surprising to me. But that's one thing. Number two, if when it comes down to working conditions, well, for me, the ergonomics or setup and so forth, that wasn't an issue. When it comes down to working conditions, as it pertains to how do I say this now? Compensating persons for like what they have to go through there, and actually giving persons what they're supposed to get, that could do a lot of justice for some people.
I think the Brunei. If
Oh, you're
you're not hearing, okay, you can continue and move somewhere. Ideas. Now you can.
Yeah, maybe Mario would like to give
Yes.
time or tell you about his experience.
Hi everyone. Pleasure to be here. My name is Mario Keppel. Had a little bit of a connectivity issue just now, so I had to switch to my phone. But I've been in the BPO. Had been. I'm not currently. Maybe a combined 5 years. I've been between a few, or more than a few. Most times for better pay. It's even $10 on your pay at the time. That goes a far way. But what I found in terms of experience is that there would be a need to do overtime to really see a livable wage. And in that respect, then that lends itself to burnout. As far as the mental is concerned, there was a point where I was recommended to see a psychologist, probably because I experience a lot of anxiety sometimes, maybe even panic attacks, because what it is that your money is tied to metrics that are most times out of your control. It's a very difficult situation to be seated at a desk on your computer for hours and hours, and you are talking to, in many instances, very irate people. You get sometimes expletives like crazy, but you are supposed to remain calm. You're supposed to be addressing their issues. You're supposed to be always the chirpy kind of person, and all you're being inundated with day in, day out is people problems. So that does get under your skin. I mean, maybe not first few weeks, maybe not even the first month, but over time that plays on your psyche. And so you find that and I entered maybe for, I thought, what would have been a summer. It was a lack of other opportunities why I was there for 5 years. Well, not one particular place, but where I've had a 5-year stint. And I would have wanted to believe that doing 5 years at any place, you can elevate yourself. Of course, there are opportunities, maybe one or two persons do get them. But generally speaking, you remain at the entry level. You see, you're there and you see persons who could be grandmothers who are taking calls on one level. And if you lose an account, which is not that difficult, because what I understood is that on any given day, a client could be listening to a call, hear something that's not to their liking, and maybe even decide to pull an account. It's like that. It also is a situation where you basically are always on your toes every time, always on your toes. So I mean, it's doable for maybe high schoolers leaving school, need a little work experience. But I did see a lot of college graduates, in the university, who, because of lack of opportunity in the country, are having their student loans, they're inundated with bills, and they're having to be taking this minimum wage job because there's lack of opportunity. So it's really, you're really caught between a rock and a hard place, and it can be a situation where you're asking yourself, why am I here? Can't I do better? So any opportunity you receive, you leave. And that is my experience.
During your time of work, oh, go ahead, Nathan.
No, it's fine. You can ask your question.
Yeah, during your time working there,
Yes.
so stress, anything to get through your daily assignments or your tasks.
Go again. I didn't catch the middle part of the question. Sorry.
What did you to cope working under that pressure?
What did I do to cope?
Yes, yes.
Oh, well, I want to tell you, and I'm not proud of it. I picked up habits that I would not even think I would do in a million years. I started smoking. I would be there's a general partying on the weekends, which is you're a teenager, so and you're a young adult, you wouldn't indulge in. But it does, you feel like a rat in the corner, so you have to be using your breaks. You track time and you wish the breaks were longer. You're wondering how the break time done so fast. You really need that break to really reset. And so you would find that there are a lot of persons who probably start smoking. There's a lot of persons who maybe just need some place to go to really think things through. I don't know, maybe other persons have thicker skin, but it was very, it was an experience for me, and one that I wouldn't wish on anyone.
Anybody ever collapsed on the job or have been hospitalized?
Not,
Just
I can recall maybe incident or two that would probably be related to asthma or some other condition. Necessarily, most of the times you're in an air-conditioned space, which in and of itself, especially I would imagine through the pandemic time, would not have been the best. For me, I wasn't in this sector at that time. But it main thing, and I've come to understand that over time, is that being treated for long very long is very unhealthy. There's no other way to do the job, but that's if you can avoid that. You're actually told in ergonomics that every hour you need to get up from your seat But of course, you can do that in the BPO center. So it is the case where I think if anybody had any issues collapsing, it might be a lack of schedule and so on, like that. About some places at 24 hours, your shift tends to change ad hoc based on their time to meet certain services and so on and so forth. But I think for the most part, most persons were able to hold out. It might be some persons who miss the early shift and you have to run and leave the breakfast. If you can't the phone. And that's not good. But apart from that, you soldier on.
I'm not sure.
Yes, but you not many times where employment is concerned, so you grit your teeth.
Well, thanks to the UIC for bringing having this discussion on this platform. Yep. So that person can really know what is happening and hear from who experience. But think of the working condition.
Can you all hear me? I usurped my wife's seat because they have disconnected my computer. I can't connect from my computer. I'm not sure why. But glad to be back. Sorry, Mrs. Patterson, for taking away your seat. But I gathered the conversation has been going very well. I know I've missed a lot, but that's okay. Miss Brown, have you been able to follow the conversation so far?
Yes.
Wonderful. Have you heard anything from any of the speakers that you want to comment on?
For me, I've seen persons who have collapsed more than once, and it's basically because of workload, right? Working, you have irritated customers on the phone, and you need supervisors to help you with your call and all of that, and you have no supervisor. And you have to be there taking all the foolishness from all those customers. You have to sit down. There's nothing that you can do because you can't argue with these people. If you don't, you will be penalized. And you just have to sit down and take every single thing. And that's the
Oh, so it seems Mr. Internet trouble there. I really wish you could all hear Miss Brown. Did you catch any of it, Mario?
It was a bit choppy at the end, and a bit distant. So, but I'm not sure if that's my connection or her.
Oh no, it's Mr. Patterson's connection because he's on the phone. But she was basically stating something similar to what you said earlier. To have it with customers on the phone and to deal.
Yes.
You can hear me because I think you're frozen.
No, I missed the last part. I'm using my phone, but I think the flow service is having issues in this side.
All right, let me repeat. I'm saying he was basically stating something similar
Yes, I
to
heard
what
that part.
you shared as it pertains to having irate customers on the phone and having to do it all.
Yes. It's breaking up again. Was there a question?
Oh, no question. No question, just in case.
Oh yeah, man, yeah, man. I got a bit of what she said as far as irate, but then not as much at the end. But I think for especially, and I was working with the more established ones, and I've come to understand now that there's a plethora of others, some smaller than some, and in terms of the tier, it deteriorates the smaller your center is. Basically people get away with murder. So it's an untenable situation. It's probably something that we have to, well, young people have had to accept that is the situation. And hopefully enough voices can be heard, so some changes can be made. Like yourself, I've seen that the announcements that are championed are the ones of new call centers being built.
Right.
Always a bigger one. Similarly to possibly how new hotels are built. And then it's much fanfare, maybe scoring political points, but the reality is grim for those who have to experience it.
One of the problems, you see, one of the problems we have is that Jamaica is designed to be a low wage earning country. It is strategically placed that way, and our two political parties, the two main political parties, they are a part of the what's the word now? They're a part of the plan. They're a part of the trick, a part of the scam. You know, they talk about, you know, scamming in Jamaica, but there's no bigger scamming in Jamaica than the government of Jamaica in collusion in collusion with the big businesses. So they have colluded to make Jamaica a low wage state. So this is the place where you come. I remember, you know, from slavery days, back in the days of slavery, the whole idea behind slavery was come to Jamaica or use slaves to get a low cost labor, you know, near zero if you can possibly get that. And so the model that we have maintained in Jamaica since then is to maintain a model of low wages. So if you're getting $300 in the call center, that's the equivalent of about $1.93 US. So you're making $1.93 US an hour. The reason why a call center company would come here rather than do the work in the US or Canada or Britain is that if they have to hire somebody in Canada or Britain, they would have to pay them, let's say, $15 an hour, because a call center job, you know, it doesn't require in many instances for you to necessarily even have any subjects out of school, to be honest. You know, if you're an intelligent person, you can be an intelligent enough graduate, somebody that can be trained, you're trainable. I think Mario, you mentioned it earlier on. a call center job is well suited to, let's say, a high school graduate who did not really pass any subjects per se and did not really get to move on to a higher level yet in their personal development. And so this would be a good intermediary or first level job where you're going to learn some core skills. You're going to learn how to, follow instruction. You're going to learn how to work as part of a team. You're going to learn how to take calls, how to deal with customer complaints, various things that are good to learn. These are good job skills. And you're going to learn how to follow metrics, how to work to objectives and so on, which is fine. But when the country is so designed that you wipe out most of the industries, you eliminate a lot of jobs. For example, in the 1990s under the PJ Patterson and Omar Davis administration, they wiped out about 40,000 small to medium-sized companies in Jamaica, and with that, a number of industries and jobs. So persons like yourself now, Miss Williams, coming up as a young person, 22 years old, you don't have as many options of employment opportunities because they have wiped out those options and leave you now with a few options. You go to work in the hotel industry, which is similar to a BPO from a different perspective, or you go to work in a BPO industry, or you're in some other form of low paying. Even if you're working at a bank, for example, as a teller or one of those positions, chances are you're not making a whole lot more, and sometimes even less than you'd make in a call center, to be honest, depending on the type of call center. There are different tiers of call centers. You have, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star. 5-star would be paying you a much higher rate. They might be paying you somewhere in the region of $4 to $5 US dollar, equivalent US dollars an hour, while a lower tier would be paying you somewhere in the region of 3 or 4 equivalent US dollars an hour. But the bottom line is Jamaica is stuck in that we don't have enough industries properly developed to absorb our highly skilled and highly trained personnel. So you now even have people with a degree competing with a high school graduate for the same call center job. That gives the call center company a large volume of persons to choose from. And when you have too many persons going after the same job, the price of that job comes down. It's just basic economics. And so as long as they can make Jamaica a country where you have more people demanding a job than available jobs, then you're going to suppress wages, right? And when you have a case where many university graduates graduate but can't get a job in their field, they're going to compete with you in the BPO sector. And so, but if they could get a job in their field, then you would have less of them available, and that would bring up the price of BPO jobs as well. Now, bear in mind, this is very important. The BPO jobs, if they're not here, then they're also in a different country. So on the one hand, it's a painful job with some serious drawbacks and some serious challenges. Maybe not for, it definitely isn't for somebody who is at a mature level of life trying to, build a family and so on, because that's going to be quite challenging financially and otherwise. But if we didn't, let's say we didn't have those jobs. I think there are about 50,000 of them right now in Jamaica. Let's say we didn't have those jobs. We didn't have the BPO jobs. Now we have a serious problem because we don't have any jobs or don't have enough jobs. So the problem is really, it's not the BPO job itself. It is for us to build a country where we have a variety of employment opportunities. And that's where the UIC comes in, because our model of, for example, going into making Jamaica the organic food capital of the world, what that's going to do is create a massive sector, and even though it's called one sector, organic farming, you have so many other skills required: engineering, various office skills, various, you have accounting, you have economics, you have engineering, you have various forms of science, chemistry, physics, different disciplines are all required to make this as successful as it needs to be. That would now create a lot of options. So that would force a BPO company to be a little bit more competitive in their price point when it comes on to wages, because they would not have such a large number of persons, skilled and unskilled, who are going after the same job and therefore suppressing the prices. Does that make sense to you, Ms. Brown?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And what about you, Mario and Ms. Williams? Does that make sense to you? Does it shed some light on it?
It does.
Absolutely.
It does. I think when you fell off, I don't think you heard when you said it, but when you fell off, I was talking about the lady in the video, or I'm not sure who her name is, but she mentioned the level of interest in the BPO sector. And I was saying it's not so much the level of interest, but more so the lack of choices. So that's the only thing you have to turn to.
Absolutely. That is exactly the problem. There are many Jamaicans who would never have taken a job with the BPO if they had more opportunity. Now, this brings us back to the issue of small business in Jamaica. If you create an environment where the regulations and laws suppress small businesses, makes it difficult for them to develop and grow, while you're giving preferential treatments and gatekeeping in a way that favors big business, then what you're doing, you're locking out opportunities. You're locking out innovators and creators in the Jamaican setting who would have built opportunities for us. Now, over time, what that does is dry up the Jamaican local investment market and make us dependent on external investors. And so the government now will give, let's say, Chinese coming in or Indians coming in or anybody coming in preferences, and they will come with capital, but now they have a greater say over us because we have been made poor. Your parents, they had sucked out your parents' capital with, for example, a 30-year mortgage at relatively high interest rate, having low wages. You can't save, so you can't build up capital to become a major player in your own country's economy. And so over time, you're existing here, you go from 25 to 55, but you find that you don't build up enough capital to be a serious contributor to creating something in your own country that would create jobs and create opportunities. You understand what I'm saying, Ms. Powell? Does that resonate with you at all?
Yes, a lot of
Yeah. Okay. Right, breaking up a bit there. So people are struggling in hearing us. I mean, I can't hear you very clearly. I guess the connection is really bad. Can you hear me, Mario?
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, so you can hear me.
It's the nail on the head.
It's clear. Okay. Somebody said to stop and start over. No, we're not going to stop and start over. But I appreciate and I understand. It's a pity. This is a very important discussion for us to have here. We were to speak with somebody else, but I don't see them on yet. What's his name? O'Neill Gordon. Has he tried to come on while I was off, Miss Powell?
I'm not.
Okay, so Miss Powell's connection, your connection is really bad. We can't hear you at all, Miss Powell. Can you hear me clearly, Miss Williams?
Yeah, loud and clear.
All right, so Miss Powell is really.
I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
Right, so you're hearing us, Miss Powell, but what happened is when you're talking, it's sounding like you're in Mars. You're calling in from Mars. And we're but that's okay. So back to the call center though, since we haven't heard from the other gentleman. In terms of the technology we're using while you were at the call center, was it beneficial to you? Did you find that you were, let's move on to a little bit of the positive now. Let's see if we can find some, there's a lot of negative, but what did you gain from the experience? Because in every bad experience, even if you were a slave, to be honest, there are things you would have gained from the experience that would make you a stronger, better person. What are some of the things you can say that you took away from this experience that was positive or will shape you in a better way for life?
Well, I guess I can go first. For me, the main thing is it has taught me not to just lash out on the simplest matter, because the amount of colorful words you deal with on a daily basis, and you still have to sit and remain calm. I guess that actually helps you further on in life when dealing with certain issues. That's the biggest one for me, really.
That's a very, before you go on to number two, Miss Williams, that's an excellent point, because working in a call center, you're really, and it's not for everybody, to be honest, because not everybody can deal with that. But if you can manage dealing with high rate customers who are very upset because of whatever it is that they feel isn't going the way it should go for them, the product or service that they bought isn't going according to plan for them, and they come on, how you deal with them is a testimony to your ability to be calm, to be respectful, to be able to, just let this customer feel as if they're being heard and brought back down to earth, if possible, because some customers, you can't bring them down, but at least you can manage yourself and how you deal with them. What do you think about that, Ms. Brown? All right, your connection is poor, Miss Brown. We can't hear you properly. But Mr. Keppel, what are your thoughts there?
Indeed, I've been one to go as far as meditation, and I find that you tend to learn, especially afterwards, in things that I've picked up where motivation is concerned, that you are really the one who can allow anything to affect you. And so it is a tremendous help in terms of training yourself for conflict resolution, because we're having an issue with violence at this point in our country, and the main issue is we're unable to resolve sometimes petty conflicts. So it was helpful in that regard. As far
Excellent.
Yes.
Very good point. Ms. Williams, what was your second point now?
Oh, I was going to say that it also helps you to really adapt to especially a fast-paced environment, or to adapt to different situations in a short space of time. Because I went from doing a regular 9 to 5 to doing a 12 to 9 shift where I'm having lunch at 6:30, 7. So it messed up even my eating schedule, my sleeping schedule, all of that, and I got used to that. So I guess it's a part of the reason why I sleep late nowadays. Yeah.
It really tested you. It really tested you there. Now, I want to bring Miss Powell in again just to see if her mic is now working properly, or the connection is working properly. Miss Powell, in your experience over the years, have you ever faced some of the challenges you heard here in a different sector, in a different environment, like a different work environment?
Truth be told, no, not really.
Okay, so you're very fortunate. No, I've worked. Go ahead. Yeah.
The area where I used to, when I was employed, was an area where actually I was kind of in control.
Okay, so you've been very fortunate.
Yes. I used to like cooking, like run the company canteen. So everybody will respect the cook, especially the campus.
Right. So you have had the privilege of working in an environment, for the most part, where you didn't have to go through some of the stresses that these young people have to go through. I mean, I spent a short stint in the telemarketing industry, a little bit in my early years, while I was still a high school student. I went to the US and I worked in telemarketing for a bit, so I experienced And some of what you're talking about, one of my takeaways back then was that it really sharpened my communication skills. You know, I learned how to deal with a lot of people, different people, and, you know, how to communicate, you know, how to get through to different kinds of people. So I think it's an area of work that can really build your communication skills. What do you say to that, Mr. Keppel?
Yes, as a matter of fact, one of the criteria when you look at the job description is soft skills. So it is important for you to, if you're not the one that has it, to develop it and develop it quickly. Yes.
Yes, excellent. Now, another thing I saw within the space is normally you're working to targets. So, you know, targets are set and you have to work very hard to meet those targets. You're being measured. Everything about your job is in metrics, is being measured. Can you comment on that for me, Mr. Keppel?
Absolutely. So, and interestingly though, when I started, the metrics, for want of a better word, were a bit lax. So maybe you would have one or two metrics, and so by that virtue, you're hitting the target all the time, and you're happy because you're making some money. Just out of high school, so money, relatively speaking. But then it started to become rather stringent. And what I've come to understand is that Jamaica is ranked among, not only because we speak English, but generally across the board, we are the better performers, bar none. So there was a conspiracy that the metrics get tighter because the operators that need the payout to be less, so they keep more in their coffers. I'm not sure how true that is, but I found that over time, you may start to miss a few based on having to do this juggling act with maybe too many metrics in some instances. But it definitely keeps you on guard when you know that there's any call that could be graded. So you are one to try to keep your performance at a level. Yes.
So Yard Night is saying, one of our commenters on the chat session, Yard Night is saying that the targets are constantly changed. If too much of you making money, and so if too much person making money, they make the targets harder.
That's true.
Yes.
That is true, eh?
That is true.
So the goalpost is always moving. So they say, okay, you need to do this. Okay.
Think that you're making money because we just put the target at, say, for instance, 80%, and you have persons work tirelessly just to pass that target, just to make that extra money, and you have 10-20% passing that target. Then let me tell you, they're going to raise it to 90%. But then you have persons pushing passing that 90%, they're going to raise it to 100. Then you have certain people repeatedly change it again and again and again. That's
So
that person is correct.
So Yardman says, he also said, don't let the bonus catch your eye. Is it like, go ahead, comment on that, Ms. Brown.
Don't let the bonus catch your eye. That is true, because let me tell you, that also it caught my eye. And I work and I work and I work and I work for the bonus. And let me tell you what happened. When I'm supposed to get my bonus, everything is taken away. They said, you did not do this correctly, but yes, I'm on that sheet that says I'm supposed to get my bonus, right? But they have something to tell you that they're not going to receive this because you did this wrong, you did that, you get a CA, you committed a corrective action. That's what CA means, right?
So how do they take away the money from you? Miss Williams, have you experienced that where you worked hard and thought you were going to get a particular amount of money, but you end up getting less than what you were told that you're going to get, Ms. Williams?
Mine is actually a funny story in a sense, because I think I shared this earlier, but you fell off. A lot of the call centers, they have what you call a probation period. So during that period, you're only getting base rates. After that period finishes, which is usually, well, where I worked, it was 3 months. So after the 3 months finish, I should have been getting performance-based incentives. But I didn't make it, well, I did make it past the 3 months because I was working there for 7 months. But after the 3 months ended, I still wasn't getting any form of incentives. So I couldn't really see the bonuses and so forth. I was getting basically throughout the whole period.
Wow. Did you have similar experiences, Mr. Keppel?
Yes. Well, for me, like I mentioned initially, when I started back in 05, if I can believe that, it was rather easy to get these incentives. And by that token, fresh out of high school, I was feeling good. Over time, it became, especially in other locations, a bit more difficult. Like Ms. Williams would have mentioned, sometimes the job description changes. There's always regular updates depending on the job description and what you're doing. And these are things that also impact your performance incentive. So to give you a clearer picture, there's one thing called quality, which is the quality of the call, based on a set list of items that you need to say, or maybe sometimes there's a script that you need to follow, or you need to say sorry here, or you're welcome there, or put them on hold no longer than a minute there, that sort of thing. Then there's a thing called the handle time, which is how long you talk to them. And that is not the easiest to control. But metric that you have to meet. There's others targets. If you have any sales doing, then of course you have a quota, that sort of thing. So for some persons, and maybe the average person, it can be a bit difficult at times. And when you have bills that are constant, that adds an added level of stress.
Do you know that we're not this way because of our size? We're not a poor country because of our size. We are actually a poor country simply because our leaders have decided that we should remain poor. They have decided to build and manage an economy that keeps the majority of Jamaicans as low-skilled workers. And I'll tell you why you can clearly see this. If you look at the fact that, and I always use this country, right, Singapore, because it's so glaring, it is so similar where we started out, and so glaring the difference. Why is it today the average income is 65,000 in Singapore?
You have 1 minute remaining on this call.
Look like we're losing somebody on this side. Miss Brown?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, we're going to lose you because we only have 1 minute left on the call. But thank you very much for joining us tonight. You hear?
All right, no problem. You're most
Pleasure.
welcome. Have a wonderful night.
Same to you, my dear. All the best. Bye-bye. Yeah, so Singapore, 65,000, Jamaica, 5,000 to 9,000 US dollars. Why is that? The big difference is somebody said laugh out loud because the call fell off. But the big difference is just how the two countries are governed. One set of leaders created a large pool of highly intelligent, highly educated, very competent people. They invested heavily in the education of their people. They invested heavily in creating a safe, clean and orderly country so that it's very easy relative to Jamaica for you to create things, build things, innovate. So if you, for example, wanted to start a company today in Jamaica, Mr. Keppel, or Miss Williams, or Miss Powell, if you want to start a company in Jamaica today, the hassles that you'll go through here are several times harder than what you go through in a country like Singapore. It'd be much easier for you to start and build and get through in Singapore. For example, if you had let's say a shop in New Kingston in Singapore, you actually could leave the shop without any form of special security at all and go home every night feeling very comfortable that when you go tomorrow morning, it's still going to be there and all your goods are going to be there. That's very, very different from life here in Jamaica. In Jamaica, a big portion of your brain space is taken up with how to avoid theft, how to avoid being murdered because you're trying to succeed. And that's why I'm sorry we didn't have a young man on tonight who is telling us about what's happening in Harborview from a developmental standpoint for him. But we really want to have a Jamaica. Sorry?
It's Mountain View.
Mountain View, right? Not Harborview, Mountain View. Thank you so much. But that is really what is lacking. We have not developed a Jamaica where A, we've invested thoroughly in our human capital, and B, we've created a safe space, because those are the two ingredients you need for massive internal investment, local investment, where we, the people, actually get to invest in our own country and build our own country, as opposed to being dependent on others. Mind you, Singapore brought in a lot of outside investors. And the reason those outside investors came to Singapore is because of how safe it was and how highly educated their people were. Call centers are coming to Jamaica because they can benefit from low wages, so they can charge, pay very low wages to our people and get even university graduates coming out begging for one of their jobs because there's so few jobs in the marketplace. And that is just wrong. It is just sad, and it is representative of the kind of government we have suffered for the last 78 years. What do you say to that, Ms. Powell?
Yes.
I don't know why you're freezing up my screen, Ms. Williams. I'm trying to get you to unfreeze. Did you notice that you're frozen on the screen?
Oh, I'm not frozen. I'm just not moving.
Oh my goodness. Yes, but it's really unfortunate. Somebody says, Andrew Olness is now referencing Singapore. Yes, he's referencing Singapore because he knows the UIC is very big on referencing Singapore. But his reference means nothing, at least not to any well-thinking Jamaican. You see, by now, all Jamaicans should be aware that they have had 78 years. 78 years to fix this country. 78 years to build Jamaica into being no less than Singapore. And they have failed. They have failed miserably to make Jamaica even half of what Singapore is. So him now mentioning Singapore is pointless. It's only going to be useful to anybody who is not thinking, who is not a good thinker, anybody who is prepared to be fooled. But the UIC is the education party. We are going to try to get through to the Jamaican people and educate them and say to them, if it takes 78 years and the UIC for these two parties to start to talk about the right things, why should we trust them with our tomorrow? We can't trust any promise at all that they give us now, because they have failed over such a long period of time, and now they want us to believe that they should be given the chance to continue to govern this country. The only way they're going to get a chance to continue to govern this country is if we, the people of Jamaica, do not stand up and follow what the UIC is saying, to let us own our own party. This is an opportunity now for us to own our own party and no longer to be dependent on two parties which have been owned by the PSOJ and owned by the colonial masters. They're working for the PSOJ, they're working for the colonial masters, they're not working for us. So let's own our own party now. Own, and that means we have to donate to it, we have to volunteer in it, we have to join the movement, we have to tell others about the movement, and we have to overcome all of the obstacles they're going to put in our way to try to stop us from me. I see some comments here in the chat box. Ms. Dorothy Meyer says, people, those of us who can, go home and register to vote, please. Thank you very much, Ms. Myers. And mind you, we have to do more than just voting on people. We have to do more than just vote. Because here's what's going to happen. If the UIC isn't visible on the ground in all of these communities, I mean visible, active and engaged on the ground in these communities, we're not going to be elected. If we are not able to effectively communicate with the people on various platforms, because we have the means to do so, and means is more than just me coming on a live and talking. We have to have the funds to support more of our people to be able to get out there and do things. Many of our people can't afford data, can't afford gas, don't even have a vehicle. Yeah. So we are going to have to realize the handicap that the UIC is faced with and see if we can, get involved and really push this. I got a note here from our office staff here saying that they want to hear from Miss Dorothy Myers. Please call the number, Miss Myers. Call 876-293-0812. That's Dorothy Myers. Please call 876 293-0812. Yeah, I want to hear from you. I see here Mr. Yard Knight saying this is building quiet the uprising if it keeps up. Sensible Jamaica can only stand by alone. Okay. Agra Valley says PNP and JLP create a bad education system. Yes, that's so true. And I missed some earlier. Can you bring up a few? There are a few earlier things that I wanted to comment on. But anyways, we can do this to the people. The UIC is unique, eh? And by the way, yeah, I saw the comments earlier on people trying to tear down and so on. But the UIC is so unique. Look at this. We have created a political party which is not off the PSOJ. They don't own us, they can't control us. Yeah. We're a people-based party, we're owned by the people of Jamaica. The first time in the history of Jamaica since Marcus Garvey that we have a political movement which is owned by the people of Jamaica. So you who are listening right now, all of you, wherever you are around the world that are listening, this is actually your movement. And based on you, we will succeed or fail. If you decide that you are going to contribute to this movement, you are going to give your 250 Jamaican dollars a week, or your 1,000 a month, or your US $25 a month, or your US $10 a month, or US 50 a month, whatever it is. You all decide to do this, and we all come together, join together as one. There is nobody that can stop us because we have more money than the PSOJ, believe it or not. I think I heard a young lady on what is it, Slow Flow TV today talking, and she said that Jamaicans overseas contribute about $3.1 billion to the Jamaican economy. And her comment was that just imagine if all of us in the diaspora were to give $25 a month. Listen, if less than 1% of the diaspora gives $25 US a month, nobody can stop it. If less than 1%, let's say 1%, if 1% of the diaspora gave $25 US a month to the UIC, we're unstoppable. We'll be able to have 228 candidates in all of the local government elections, 63 in all of the MP seats, and we would take back Jamaica. We would take charge of this country, and we'll be able to implement our strong 10-point plan and all of our manifesto for a new and better Jamaica. Wouldn't you like to see that, Mr. Kep? Okay, Mr. Keppel lost his voice now. Miss Williams or Miss Powell?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. Yes. I'm seeing some comment. Do we have any questions in the question here? We have 5 minutes to close off. Any questions?
We have what's his name? Info Hub asking how can he donate other than using the website.
Okay. How can you donate other than using the website? Please connect with us at 2930812. Send a WhatsApp message in and ask us, and we'll provide you other options to contribute. Okay. So contact us at this number, 2930812, and help you from there. Other questions?
Not many questions. It's more so just comments coming in.
Okay. Well, let's share the best comments.
That would be perfect, sir.
All right. Okay, this is the first one. I think you read a part of it.
That would help Jamaica.
Okay, so this is a full comment from Agro Valley Farms. The person is saying,
Hear me now?
Create a bad education system to have a mass of illiterate and indifferent people to keep in place their gangster garrison.
Hear me now?
Mario, you're suffering from a delayed reaction. It's a bit delayed. The system is delayed for you. But we're going to close it off now because it's 1.5 hours. I want to thank all of you who have been on tonight. Miss Jasmine Powell, VP for the County of Surrey, Maria Keppel, UIC member, I believe, or supporter. I'm not sure which one. I have to check it out. Miss Naika Williams, treasurer. Earlier on, you had Mrs. Patterson, and you also had Miss Brown as well participating in the conversation. Yes. All right. So thank you all very much. Have a good night. And what do we say when we're going out? One Jamaica?
Stronger together.
Stronger together. So one Jamaica, stronger together. And remember, we can't do this without you, eh? So let us all come together, own the party, join, donate, volunteer, and we will take back our country. Have a good night until we connect again. You can rate the show if you like what you heard today. If you found this very useful, give us 100%. If it wasn't so useful, you give us 1% or somewhere down there. Anything under 50 is bad. Anything above 50 is good. And of course, we always like something great. So thank you so much for your time and energy. Hopefully we'll have good connection the next time we come on and we can have a little bit more fun together. To all of you out there in the BPO sector who are suffering, who are struggling, please know the UIC feels your pain. We're working hard to transform the country so that you can have more and better opportunities. But meanwhile, make sure you bloom where you're planted. So wherever you are, wherever you find yourself, make the most of it. Work hard. Do your best to learn as much skills that you can and, move up from there. Be respectful, be kind, be courteous. Do not lose your cool. Do not lose your tempo. Don't tell off your boss. Don't tell off the client. Just be respectful, be responsible, be kind and courteous at all times. Do not lose your right by losing your cool. Yeah? So keep your right at all times. So if somebody wrong you, try not to lose your cool. Just go through the process. Make a report if there's a proper reporting channel that is there. Report to the Ministry of Labor if you think that your employment rights are being infringed upon. Go to the Ministry of Labor, let them know. If you think that your paycheck isn't right, report it to the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Labor and get them to review it with your employer and see if it's okay. But not cuss out the people them. Not tell them no bad word. Yeah? Please, not argue with them in a no disrespectful manner. Be respectful, be kind, be courteous. Believe me, not give away your right by losing it. Yeah? Don't be, as we say in Jamaica, don't be ignorant, because it's really ignorance if you're going to cuss out your boss. So just show them some respect, man. Even if them don't respect you, if them don't respect you, you respect yourself. Eh? Respect yourself. Don't let yourself be drawn down. Don't tell them about you go and come back and bring people to anything to them or whatever. Don't tell them about them parts or whatever. Just be respectful at all times. Cover yourself. And if you're going to leave the job, don't just walk off of the job. Don't just dash down the things and walk off. Just bide your time, saw through a wooden spoon, bite your tongue, as they say, and brush up your resume, get some interviews, and then when you have another job lined up now, you hand in the resignation, give them their 2 weeks notice. Don't just walk off the job. Remember, no matter how bad you think it is, it's always good never to burn your bridges behind you. Don't burn no bridge. Just respectfully hand in your resignation and say, you have found another job. And not because you found another job and that you're going to be rude now to them and say, go from here, I'm going to find another job now. No. Just be kind and courteous. Leave on a good footing. Leave on a good footing and go to your next job and keep building up yourself. Yeah, one step at a time. I have a brand that I have out there. It's a honey brand. It's called Be Sweet Jamaica. And so I like to say to people, just be sweet. Yeah, be sweet. Be kind. Be courteous. Be respectful. Be sweet. And life will be better for you. Even if you're struggling right now in the job that you're in. One Jamaica, stronger together. Be sweet. Take care. All the best.